Three takeaways from Atlanta United's 2-0 win over the New England Revolution at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Sydney here, of course, in Atlanta. Tyler, obviously not in Atlanta. He is at IMG Academy. He was in the bleachers for the match. I thought they would fix you up in the press box, get you a nice little press box position, but that wasn't to be, it sounds like.
No, it was we were in like the main stadium field.
Yeah.
I mean, it's preseason, so we were kind of sitting there with, New England's squad, New England's team
Right.
was on the side. Atlanta United's, players that weren't playing were sitting there with us, and we all just watched the soccer game. And I wrote the article, directly from the bleachers.
Good stuff. Good Wi-Fi though.
Nope, I just used my phone.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, you're on site there in Florida, so we'll get your insight from there. But let's start out with the big takeaway. Takeaway number one, of course, Miguel Almirón starting for Atlanta United. Good to see his visa is sorted, his paperwork is sorted so that he's able to play with Atlanta United. I know Dyla said he trained over the previous weekend of the Birmingham match. He was at the facilities later on. Good to see him in Florida. Good to see him back on the field for the first time for Atlanta United since 2018 MLS Cup. And from what I saw, he looked like the same Miggy, the same Miguel Almirón. Of course, it's preseason. You don't want to take too much out of it. But to me, he essentially looked the same, that same pacey run, that same involvement that he had so many times with Atlanta United during 2017 and 2018. And certainly a welcome sight to see for Atlanta United fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was the one, obviously, that fans were going to have their eye on, right? As soon as we found out that he was going to be in the starting 11 and playing today, that's big news for Atlanta fans, seeing Miguel Almirón back on the pitch. And, he played the 65, 70 minutes or so that the first starting 11 got to play. And, yeah, I mean, it was like he didn't miss a beat. He was the same, pacey runner. He started off as a right winger on paper, but he drifted wherever he wanted to pretty much. He almost played as another 10 at times. But the biggest thing is he's there opening up space, and he's there breaking lines by himself with his runs. And you could see some of the New England players getting frustrated with just the same thing we heard, 6-7 years ago, right? What did defenders complain about with Miggy? He gets on the ball, and he just gets faster, and he gets away from you. And you saw that today, and he had – a couple of good kind of incursions into the box. He was a bit of a playmaker. He created some half chances. I mean, it was a good showing for him, even if he wasn't the one that hit the back of the net.
Yeah, and again, just like old times, right? Again, as he grows and kind of gets comfortable with the team, I mean, he's already familiar with the culture, of course, but as he gains some comfort and chemistry with the team, he's only going to get better. So again, really excited to see Almirón getting the start, and like he said, going that 70 minutes with the starting 11s. Takeaway number two, let's talk about both goals. Goal number one, another set piece goal. That's 3 in a row now, 3 for Atlanta United this preseason, and that was one of the big things that Dyla talked about during his press conferences, and Jason talked about it on the stream. Just how Atlanta United have been able to get these goals from set pieces. So good to see another one. Really good delivery from Miranchuk into the box that Jamal gets a head on. And again, great to see that chemistry continuing to build, especially for Miranchuk, who we've talked about needs to have really good preseason and by extension a really good season just to live up to that DP tag. Goal number two, I should say, Klich, a very well taken shot from inside the box. Just looked like a failed header by New England, and just a powerful attempt by Klich that found the back of the net. And those were the goals. Really well taken goals by both players, both Thiare and Klich in the first and second halves. And 2-0 win. You keep a clean sheet. And just that improvement. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but just that incremental improvement. 2 really good goals.
Yeah, and shout out to Alexi, because it wasn't just the assist he had on that dime of the ball for Jamal Thiare, right? But it was the lead up and the build up into that second goal. He chipped the keeper when the keeper came out, and I think it was one of the center backs was able to clear the ball, but didn't clear it enough. And it gets pinged around for another, 5 seconds or so. And then it ends up at Klich's feet, and he drills it. And, but it's a good open play goal. It came from putting pressure on New England. And, I think, going back to the first part of that, one of the things that I asked Ronnie Dyla about after the match was like, this is 3 or 4 set piece goals so far in the preseason. Is this something that y'all been working on? And he said, I mean, it's not something we've actually had a big focus on, but it was something that, being in and around the box, he said, those 2 boxes is where you win or lose games. And it's not that they haven't worked on things, but they're working on so many things that they haven't had time to just kind of put maybe like routines together. But he said the biggest thing is that the service has been good, and you got to give credit to Marinchuk for a lot of that, because he's been mainly the one taking these set pieces. So, and then Ronald Hernandez, as we saw a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, look, the attack scoring goals, and what have we said? It's not just about Miggy. It's not just about when Lati Laf gets his visa and he can start playing. It's about all these other guys coming together. And even if the Miggy or the Latte Lath or whoever's not the one scoring the goals, they're opening up so much space for other guys. And it's on them to take advantage of it. And you see that's what happened with Klich today in that second goal.
Yeah, again, 2 really good goals, 2 goals that are promising for the prospects of Atlanta United in 2025. So hopefully more to come on that. Takeaway number 3, I'll kind of hand it over to you because you were there. You got a chance to talk to Dyla. You mentioned a little bit of what you talked about, but you mentioned again that progression of the team. Against Chattanooga FC, it was a loss, but there are some promising moments there. And as he says, you never like to lose. So I think the pressure, or not the pressure, but the all this West Side Lady United to build on the promising moments, and eventually get wins. This is back-to-back wins now, back-to-back 2-0 results. You haven't allowed a goal in back-to-back matches. So it speaks to your defense, and that also speaks to your attack. We mentioned it again, not to restate what we just said, but just the chemistry continues to build. The chemistry continues to come together. So, what else did Dyla say after the match?
He said a lot, but going to that point, the progression, and I asked, what have you been especially kind of proud of from where the team started this season to where they're at now after having just beat New England? And he said the communication. And I know this is not something that you're really going to hear on the stream, but being here, one of the things that stood out to me from the get-go was hearing everybody. You're always going to hear Brad, right? We always joke around, but you're always going to hear your keeper. You should hear your keeper, and Brad is definitely a guy that is going to be the loudest on the pitch. But Derek Williams, who I think was described last year as like a silent leader, he's out there, commanding everything. The young guys, they're getting involved, right? Like you're hearing even Miggy, you're hearing him yell, and it's just and I think he described it. Ronnie Dalla described it as like guys taking leadership, taking ownership of things. So that was one aspect of it. He said having Miggy there is great, but at the same time, Miggy's only been in training for a week. And there's all kinds of other talent, all kinds of other guys out here that are their own talent, their own leaders, and everybody's gelling really well. And one of the things I asked him at the end, I was very curious about, like, what kind of team building activities is he going to do, right? Because we saw the Pineda area, he always had like the Rock, Paper, Scissors championship and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, yeah, like, I don't really do a whole lot of that kind of stuff. He's like, we're going to go out to eat together tonight. Like, have some good wine. I think that's a good team building activity.
Not too much wine, hopefully.
Yeah. I'm not going to be that guy that like carries all the guys out into the mountains and like drops them off and tells me that's just not my style. Yeah. But he's like, we go to dinner and we make sure that the not the same groups of guys are sitting together, right? They need to all communicate, build chemistry together, no matter who it is. So yeah, I mean, it's just little things like that, but you can tell the morale is there. You can tell that the team is really, really starting to gel. And a side note, he did say Steon Gregerson will probably play on Wednesday, which is good. He was sitting there watching the game. Brooks Lennon was sitting there watching the game. Brooks Lennon seems to be doing well. I asked him how Sean's doing. He said, it's doing really well. They're just being very cautious so he doesn't, re-injure anything. But yeah, I mean, lots of good updates. Really, it was overall a very, very good day at the office for Atlanta.
2-0 win for Atlanta United over the New England Revolution at IMG Academy in Bradenton. Back at it on Wednesday against FC Cincinnati, also at IMG Academy in Bradenton. Like, subscribe, share our content, look for our podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, I should say, Spotify, and iHeart. Search Scars and Spikes and Lady United Podcast. Of course, scarsandspikes.com. Patreon.com/Scars and Spikes. All that good stuff. We'll see you next time.